Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo TalkCenter. It is episode 18. I'm Don, back here for this week's episode. With me is Cal. We're just going to roadmap a little bit of what we're going to talk about in today's episode. We'll start off with a thorough recap of what we saw in the Bills Miami Dolphins Week 3 Thursday night game. And then, unfortunately, the Buffalo Sabres are back, so we'll briefly talk about them towards the latter half of the episode. But Cal, I'll start off with you. You streamed last night. You got to see it in pretty good detail. What did you think about the Bills' performance overall?
Yeah, I think they certainly didn't play as well as a lot of people thought they were going to, but you got to keep in mind these are divisional games. The Dolphins had all the pressure in the world on them to not go 0-3. You knew they were going to be playing as hard as they could. There were rumors that their coach, their GM might get fired after this game. Those were later turned down, but at the end of the day, this is a team that was hungry for a win. They needed a win. They ended up not getting it. And I don't want to exaggerate this, but I think it's true. I mean, it may already be season over for the Dolphins, a team that really needed to get off to a hot start and fend off these other AFC wildcard contenders. So you knew they were going to be coming at you. The Bills, they made some mistakes. I thought the game plan was pretty basic, and I get you don't want to hide too much stuff or show too much stuff, and you want to hide a lot for some bigger games. But overall, I think we really gotta focus on the positives rather than the negatives. You had injuries, big time win. We're 3-0, no complaints.
Absolutely. As Cal's dogs go crazy in the background while he's talking there. Um, there are a couple of big things that I want to get into with the Bills. The biggest problem, I think, and I hate to be negative, it was a win, 3-0, but the Bills were massive, massive favorites going into this one. The Dolphins have looked like garbage the first 2 weeks. They did put up a good fight in week 3, but should they have? The Bills on paper are so much better. But a lot of this game, Cal, boiled down to how bad the Bills' defense was on third downs and fourth downs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing was that third down defense, and you didn't see enough of progress from last year for me to think it's going to be any different this year. Third and long every time. It's that Sean McDermott defense where everyone backs off. You give them the 10-yard cushion. When you're playing against a team with wide receivers like Waddle and Hill, you cannot give them 10 yards of separation, and that's what they did. Unfortunately, that was the case, and we saw every time it was like first down good, second down good, third down bad. Tua and the Dolphins kept moving down until that interception late in the game.
Absolutely. The Bills, the stat here, Miami's third down efficiency, they went 10 for 15 on third downs on Thursday night. They were 1 for 1 on their only fourth down conversion. And like I already mentioned, that played a huge, huge role into why Miami kept up with the Bills in this game. Because arguably, the Bills in the first half were dominant. They were squeezing the ever dear life out of the Dolphins. They had no business being tied up at 14 going into halftime. The only reason why they were, though, was because they went 10 for 15 on third downs. What can Sean McDermott do going forward to remedy that problem?
Yeah, I hate to say run man defense because they're not a man team. They've never been a man team under Sean McDermott. You have to start sending some different stunts, some dare I say Rex Ryan type stunts on defense. Send some blitzes in there, send some different looks because right now they're sending the safeties in. It's taking too long. You're giving the quarterback too much time. The linebackers got to start getting the job done in the backfield and the defensive line. Other than Joey Bosa, no one really on that defensive line is getting pressure. Walker had a huge game. Shout out to him tipping that last ball too. I don't know if it would have mattered or not. It looked like a pick either way, but he had a big game for a rookie. The rest of the D line, Greg Rousseau, he has got to step it up. And you would think if they're double teaming Joey Bosa seemingly the whole game, that Greg Rousseau would get free a couple times on the other side. He's getting paid less attention to. That's not the case. Greg Rousseau has been invisible this season. He needs to step it up. He's been inconsistent. Epinesa, same thing. He recovered a fumble, this season, but didn't force it. So anyone can find an egg once in a while on the ground. But this defensive line, they got to be stronger. There needs to be more pressure from this Bills defense. And like I said, we'll take the positives. We'll take the win. It's a short week, so the game plan was going to be simple. You knew that, and you knew the Dolphins were going to throw everything they had at this game. We saw that trick play, the backwards pass. the Bills overall, they got the job done. I'll give them another pass here as this easy schedule continues.
Yeah, you mentioned Greg Rousseau there. He just came off of signing a 4-year, $80 million contract. He has yet to record a single sack this year. Pressures, I'm sure he's gotten a few in, especially against Baltimore. Him and Joey Bosa should have gotten Lamar Jackson down a few times in that game. But like you said, he's been invisible. He has been nowhere to be seen. And Joey Bosa, I think, has played phenomenal over the first 3 weeks of this year. The idea was by bringing in first Von Miller, then Joey Bosa, was that they would get the double teams and that would free up Greg Rousseau. And Joey Bosa is performing well, and Greg Rousseau still can't get there. Is it time to have a serious conversation about Greg Rousseau?
Yeah, I think absolutely right. He just has not shown up. He's the biggest man on the field at all times. Walker might be bigger, but you know what I mean. He is a mammoth of a human being, and he should be getting at least a hand on the ball once in a while. He should be getting some quarterback touches. He's not doing anything. He's invisible out there. Again, a high draft pick from Brandon Bean that just isn't showing up. I hate to be nitpicky on this defensive line, but they got to get the job done. We know going into the season that without Harrison with his injury, we were going to have some serious problems in the secondary, and that defensive line was going to have to hold us over. They've yet to do that, right? 2 of the 3 weeks, I'd say the defense was a disappointment. The 1 week that it wasn't was against the Jets. Should we even count that? I don't know. But I think a positive from last night's game was the run defense. The run defense was much better than we've seen in recent times with this Bills defense. The defensive line, the interior of it held up. The linebackers, I thought Shaq Thompson had a good game. Dorian Williams made some nice tackles as well. Matt Milano was not in, so that bolstered Shaq Thompson to the lineup, and I think he's shown enough to stay in the lineup. I was really impressed with what he brought to the table. I'd like to get your opinion on Trey White because he made some good plays, he made some bad plays, and it's someone that we expect not too much of to start the season. We saw the worst of Trey White with Baltimore. We saw the best with him in his prime in Buffalo before the first ACL injury. What do you think of Trey White? Do you think he can get over those humps? Again, he's playing in a scheme where he's designed to, step back and play zone. So I can't blame him fully, but what's your opinion on that?
Well, so Trey White, I think, had a really good first half, but as the game wore on, his body wore out. He looked
Mm,
to get a lot tired. Think of when Jalen Waddle had his biggest impact, his biggest plays. It was in the end of the third, going into the fourth quarter. It was on that one
yeah.
really long Miami drive that got them their final touchdown of the game. Jalen Waddle with these crossers just outran, was faster than Trey Day. He was dogging it right behind him, couldn't keep up. So in terms of that, Trey White, he shouldn't be on the field constantly. Then again, when theoretically, right, when the Bills have Maxwell Harrison back into the lineup, that they have some of their depth pieces as well in the secondary healthy again, Trey White won't have to be on the field all that often to the point where he is getting worn out. That should go to Harrison. He will be the CB2, probably CB2, and Trey White will be a rotational player coming in on substitutes. But his performance wasn't great. I still think he's cooked. It's unfortunate to say. I
Yeah.
love the guy, but he's cooked. And he still can make some great plays. I think of going
Yeah.
back to the first half, he had this really huge pass breakup on first or second down where he literally dove in front of the guy and punched the ball away from his hands. That was Trey White that I used to know and love.
Mm.
But in the fourth quarter, he was really slowing down, and that's not a good sign. Thank goodness that the schedule is this easy, this soft, so early in the year.
Yeah, and we saw Cam Lewis in the game, and I think that was mainly to give Trey White some breather time. And like you said, Harrison will take over in that role. Harrison, a guy who's as young as you can get in the NFL, he's going to be out there near every play. Once he gets a game or two under his wings, of course, you're not going to throw him into the fire the first game he plays and have him start at CB2, but he'll work his way up. Taron Johnson, of course, in the slot. Christian Benford, injury scare. We thought maybe broken ribs at first. It was just the wind knocked out of him, which we were hoping for a silly play where an overthrown jump ball and three guys jump up, and all of a
Guess
sudden
who?
Christian Benford lands hard. Guess who?
Guess
Yeah,
who?
Taylor
Guess who hit
Rapp.
him?
Yeah, yeah, of course. You know it's coming. The human torpedo. But again, I'm not mad about this Bills game. It was closer than it should have been, but take into account a Matt Prater missed field goal, and you put that into the equation. It shouldn't have been close if he makes that field goal in. Shout out to Matt Prater for bouncing back. Most NFL kickers probably missed that last field goal. What was it, 48 yards or
Hmm.
46 yards at the end of the game? Most kickers, after missing a shorty, are going to be rattled. They're going to be shook. They're going to go out there and miss that one. All of a sudden, he misses that one. Miami's right back in the game with, what was it, 25, 26 seconds? No
Yeah.
timeouts, but you got a couple deep shots to some speedy receivers. He ices the game with that kick, and that pretty much ends it. Uh, we mentioned Joey Bosa. I just want to touch on a thing that I saw. The last play of the game, defensively, Joey Bosa reached for his shoulder. I saw there was some concern. I haven't gotten any clarification on that, but it looked like he was just kind of peeling some of that tape that he had on his elbow. His elbow looked pretty cut up to start
Hmm.
that game, so he must have just injured it last week or in practice. So I don't think it's anything serious there. And the biggest accomplishment, of course, is no major injuries from this game, at least as of yet. We always hear a couple days down the line, right? Something happened that wasn't reported during the game, but that's big to have a game on Thursday night and no one gets injured.
Yeah, and now you have a week and a half to get ready to prep for the New Orleans Saints, arguably the
Oof.
worst team in football. Spencer Rattler coming to town. Tyler Shook, my guy, Tyler Shook is coming to Buffalo.
There you go. Louis.
Um, Louisville, yes, sir. But it was nice to see no injuries. I just want to bring up one more thing, a couple more things actually on the Bills. Isn't it interesting that we really haven't seen Ray Davis? Is that more so
Yeah.
Ray Davis not performing well or James Cook just being amazing to start off the year?
Yeah, so I think it's a mix. Let's start with James Cook being amazing because he has been tremendous. I take back everything I said that the Bills would be fine without James Cook. I think everyone in that camp was wrong. James Cook, he got paid a lot of money, but you needed it. He has just looked far and wide the best running back on the team, and certainly a top five guy in the league right now. We look at Ray Davis, and from preseason into the regular season, he hasn't had one big run. He's had a couple runs where he's got the job done on 3rd and 1. He'll get a couple yards, but a lot of those 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2s in week 1 and 2, he was put in there and he got 1 yard or 0 yards. And James Cook just seems to be more patient, and he hits the right holes. Ray Davis, he looks he looks like he's like really going through it when he gets the ball. He's struggling to get the pitches when he takes the handoff. He freezes like Owen Power would on a power play to throw hockey into it. He doesn't seem ready, right? He seems a little like, mentally defeated. And I thought in week 2 that I think it was a 2nd and 2 or 3rd and 2. He had a conversion and got the first down. I was like, that is huge. It's not a big run, but just getting the job done. That's going to do wonders for his mental health and just his ability to run the football in the NFL. Again, it's just like kicking. It's you have one good play and all of a sudden here we go again. But if you just don't have success and you keep building on not having success, all of a sudden you're going to run yourself out of the league. So Ray Davis, I think he's kind of lost a spot on this team right now. He's definitely running back number 3 because Ty Johnson is just so versatile. He can pass block, he can run, he can go out wide, he can catch downfield. James Cook can do the same thing. Ray Davis is kind of just a one-trick pony right now. Run up the middle and try to get 2 to 3 yards, and the Bills haven't really had to do that so far this season. So, yeah, do I see Ray Davis bouncing back from this? Yes, I think the Bills are going to need him to step up later on in the year. But as of right now, I think Ty Johnson's jumped him for running back number 2.
For sure. But James Cook has been just fantastic so far this year. He
Yeah.
had on against the Dolphins 19 carries for 108 yards and one touchdown. I was talking with a couple friends recently about James Cook and his fantasy and how, well, no one would take Cook above the fourth round simply because he just doesn't get the volume of carries that
Mm-hmm.
some of these other lead backs get. 19 carries, that's a lot. That's RB1 territory. That
Yeah.
is top 2 rounds. So if you have James Cook first off in fantasy, congrats to whoever's watching and that applies to them. But also, Cal, what do you think has changed between last season and this season with James Cook's usage? Do you think they just trust him more now, given that he's shown a consistent, slate of performing really at a high volume, or is it just, I mean, we talk about Ray Davis kind of receding into the background, but what is it? And Cal was, oh, come on, Cal was,
Thing is going to be. Oh,
no, you were frozen. No one heard the first part of what you just
okay.
said.
Now we're good. Now we're
We're
good.
good.
Okay. Okay. So I would say it was a little choppy on my end. Everyone watching, Don's the one recording, so it'll look like I'm choppy. It's both our fault. Internet sucks. But what we'll say is this with James Cook. Um, I would think it is a little bit of Brandon Beane saying, "Look, I just paid this guy monster money. You better use him." Right. That's the first thing. The second thing, he's having success. Right. You're giving him the ball. He's running it for 10 yards. Why not do it again till they stop it? The run will set up the pass, the deep ball that they have yet to do this season. I'd like to see them throw the ball a little bit more, but I get it. Your receivers are arguably worse than your running backs. You have a good running back room. Your receivers, maybe mid tier. So I understand the philosophy there. And Sean McDermott loves his complementary football. He wants to see those numbers even. If they run the ball 30 times, he wants to pass the ball 30 times. If they run the ball 10 times, he wants to pass the ball 10 times and play defense all game. He'll do whatever it takes to get those numbers as close to even as possible. So I think, towards the beginning of games, he wants to set the tone. He wants to set the clock. That's one of my concerns with McDermott is he seems worried about the play clock at all times. He outsmarts himself with that. We saw it last game. The Bills got ahead and they stopped scoring points yet again. They did that multiple times last season. They do that in the playoffs. They stop scoring points and we got to get our defense rested. We're going to run the ball 3 times. And if we got to punt it, whatever, we're up. You can't do that. You got to go down and score, score, score. You got to trust the best quarterback in the league. You can't be, playing the long game here. Go up by 30 points and then you can rest them. And this is a team that could easily, especially against these teams in the first couple of weeks, you could easily win by 30 points if that was your game plan going in. 2 of the 3 games, the Bills, that was not their game plan. Their game plan was to win by a possession, and that's what they did 2 of the 3 games. So I think James Cook's usage has really come from the offensive game plan, and I'll continue to say that Sean McDermott has his hand not only in the offensive game plan but in the defensive game plan. So I see people saying Joe Brady sucks or Bobby Babbage sucks. Like guys, like Sean McDermott's been here the longest. I don't want to say Joe Brady and Bobby Babbage are his, yes men, because I'm sure they have more of a say than some other teams that their head coach controls everything. But I mean, let's be honest here. Like Sean McDermott certainly is controlling the flow of the game at least.
For sure. And another thing that ties into that usage of we're going to run, 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 punt the ball, don't turn the ball over. I saw Joe Brady in his post-game comments after, we're recording this on Friday, so yesterday, the Thursday night game. He talked about, someone asked him about why he doesn't throw the ball down the field. I think Josh Allen, this was the first game in a long time where he did not attempt a pass of more than 10 yards downfield. And Brady talked about sort of what you just mentioned, Kale, about how they don't want to turn the ball over. They'd rather be conservative, drain the play clock, and limit turnovers. Teams that win the turnover margin. That's just
Mhm.
a truth. That's a fact. The Bills have done that now for most of Sean McDermott's tenure here as head coach. So I think part of it is what you said. Yes, McDermott, that is a clear vision of what his team wants. But also, Joe Brady's incorporating that. And that's always been sort of how he calls his offenses, right? If you go back to LSU, if you look at Carolina, his days, it's chip, chip, chip away, wait for that
Yep.
umbrella defense to unravel a little bit and then throw over the top. And I guess, at least for that Dolphins game, that just did not happen. The
Yeah.
Dolphins stayed disciplined with their 2 high safety looks, and well, Josh Allen just, dink and dunk underneath. I think the longest reception of the game was Dalton Kincaid's touchdown, right? Like
Yeah,
89
I think so.
yards.
That's weird, right? Going into this game, we heard is, oh, this is the best matchup. Bills offense against the weakened, injured secondary of the Dolphins. And they really didn't pick it apart too much. First play of the game on offense, they threw that deep ball, semi deep ball, I guess, 15, 20-yard pass down the sidelines to Keon, drew the pass interference. And from that point on, I was like, okay, here we go. They're just going to pick on them. They're going to have to either draw a penalty or, give up a monster play downfield. And they didn't go back to it from that initial play. I get not wanting to cause turnovers. I get wanting to, keep the game close and, give yourself a chance. But we saw week 1, even against the best of teams. If you say you give up a couple turnovers, this team can come back and they can score a lot of points in a very small amount of time. So I don't think we got to worry about that, especially against these weaker teams. I'd like to see them experiment more and, start getting these deep ball plays to work. So when you actually need them, when you're down, say in an AFC championship game, you're comfortable. You're not switching up the game plan completely. Like, all right, this whole season we've been running halfback dive, halfback toss, and slant. Now all of a sudden we got to run PA crossers and Hail Marys and streaks, and it's something that I think you should test out a little bit more. And I get they do it in practice, but I'd like to see a little bit more game action. And Allen's got to test out that arm and make sure he stays accurate. It's one thing to do it in practice. It's another thing to do it in game.
Absolutely, for sure. And we saw a few times that where the Bills had to just kind of switch up their entire gameplay. Like in the AFC Championship game, we saw Josh Allen actually look down the field a few times to Mac Hollins, who of course is no longer on the team. He's in New England right now. Rip, foot god right there. Rip to him. But we haven't really seen the Bills open things up down the field so far this season. It's only been 3 weeks in. We got 15 more games to go, or 15 more weeks. So we'll see what happens there. The last thing I want to talk about with the Bills is the special teams. So we've covered the defense, we've covered the offense. Let's talk about a little bit about Brandon Codrington, Cal. Are you still, do you have faith in Codrington to return punts and kickoffs?
I don't mind Codrington as a person. I think he's a good guy. I don't know too much about him,
Here
but
we
as a
go.
returner, yeah, usually here comes the but. As a returner, I don't see the connection with him. I don't see the need for him. He struggles in training camp and preseason. We saw it in the season this year and last season. We've seen him drop muff kicks. Luckily, he didn't fumble, but he did drop the one kick in this week's game against the Dolphins. And he doesn't have much upside on the returns, right? He kind of just picks a spot and he goes with it, right? He's not juking guys out. He's not like you look at Eskridge on the Dolphins. That's a perfect example. You go up like someone like that who's dynamic, who's going to make a few guys miss. Codrington's just a smaller guy. He's got a little bit of speed. He's going to pick his seam. If it's there, he'll return it, but most of the time he's going to take it down. A couple times he's caught the ball 5 yards in the end zone. And he's taking it out to the 26 or something. You're giving up 10 yards. Just, and again, that could be coaching too. Coaches could say, "Hey, we're not kneeing the ball until the fourth quarter. Take your chance. We'll trust Allen to get that extra 10 yards on offense." I get it, but yeah, I haven't been too impressed with Codrington. He hasn't shown me too much. He had that good start to the season with that opening kickoff return to like the 50, but we see that stuff pretty routinely now in the NFL with these new kickoff rules, some big returns. So I wouldn't mind giving somebody else a shot. I don't think anyone on the roster would do a better job. Ty Johnson's back there too, and I think Codrington has more upside than Ty Johnson as a returner. So with what we got, I think he's the best guy for the job. But I wouldn't mind signing a guy with a little bit of speed, a little bit of versatility, maybe a special team guru that's just able to get the job done.
Yeah, and conversely, that was a little negative. I want to balance that out with Cameron Johnston, the Bills' new
Mm-hmm.
punter, who has replaced Brad Robbins, who is infamously the worst punter in Week 1. That screenshot, that chart was
Yeah.
floating out there. Folks,
Yeah.
if you're on NFL Twitter, you know what exactly what I'm talking about. I thought Cameron Johnson had a really good game. He had that one punt. When the crucial turning point of the game, Cal, was when Zach Sealer of the Dolphins roughed Cameron Johnston. And I was thinking, well, look, that was great. He roughed the punter. Either way, though, it was gonna be good for Buffalo because either he didn't run into and rough Johnston and the ball would have been down at the 1 or 2 yard line, or we got the rough in the punter call, which eventually the Bills did get. I thought Johnston just in that one punt alone gave me a lot more hope than Brad Robbins ever gave us.
Yeah, and I said on stream too. Most of the time, a punter kicker gets roughed, and they're celebrating like that's their Super Bowl, right? They just drew a first down. I was saying Johnson probably got up when he was mad because that was probably the best punt he'll have all season. I mean, he pinned him down at the 2 or 1 yard line, like you said. That one, taken off the stat sheet now, but you'll certainly take the penalty in the first down. And one thing I want to touch on, roughing the punter. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, what an idiot!" Just sold the game for the Dolphins. That's a really hard penalty, and sometimes it's called, sometimes it's not. You're going full bore to make a game-changing play. When you have that window to block the punt, you got to go all in. You can't pull up and not go for it. So, um, you know, it happens. We see it pretty routinely in the NFL. Every couple of weeks, there'll be one of these, and you got to go for it, right? Because say he is a millimeter forward and he blocks that punt, all of a sudden the Dolphins might win that game, and he's the hero. So I see a lot of people bashing him for that penalty, but you really can't. Now, say the Bills did that, I probably would feel a little bit different about it. But remind me of this moment when some goofball does that on the Bills, and we lose a game because of a roughing the punter call. But again, one of the toughest penalties to take. It's not really a mental blunder like most people think it is. It's just bad luck.
Yeah, I mean, part of Sealer though did need to know that, hey, my team's going to get the ball either here at
Mm,
the 30-yard line or back in my own territory. Either way, we're getting the ball. Why would I do
mm.
anything to jeopardize that? And of course, he did. He went way too aggressively in. He landed on Johnson's standing leg, um, and he's just got to be smarter than that. That's an 8, 9 year veteran in the NFL. He's got to know, look, live to see another play, right? Isn't that what we always
Yeah.
heard coaches tell Josh Allen the first few years? Well, you shouldn't have to be telling that to an 8 year guy. So, Cal, I understand where you're coming from. It's a bang bang play, but he's got to know, he's got to be a little smarter. He's got to know, hey, this is the situation we're in, tied game. Just get the ball back and let Tua and the offense get to work. Give them a chance to win. Instead, he blew the game for the Dolphins, and well, the rest is history. Um,
Yeah. Last thing I want to say about the Bills, I got to bring this up.
okay,
Josh Allen running the ball 3rd and 5 at the end of the game, right before that field goal. Joe Brady,
ridiculous.
what in the world are we doing? Broken nose. He's got the visor on. What in the world are we doing running Josh Allen on that play? I get it if it's an AFC championship game, divisional game, even a wild card game, I'm okay with it. A regular season game where you're about to be up by 10 against the Dolphins and in a play where you could have need the ball or ran it up the middle, I hated that complete drive. You toss the ball twice to Cook, which why are we putting the ball in the air at all? That's a risky play to begin with. I trust Cook's hands, but say it slips, all of a sudden, you're turning the ball over, and then you run your quarterback that just broke his nose on a quarterback designed to run the week before. Just it doesn't get much stupider than that. So no, absolutely zero excuses from Joe Brady on that one. But that's where I'll leave it with the Bills.
Absolutely. And well, I'll just say one more thing on top of
Yep.
that,
Oh yeah, gotta yeah.
reinforcing your point. Why do we let Josh Allen take unnecessary hits? This cannot
Mm-hmm.
happen forever. This just cannot happen forever. Even the play where he broke his nose. Why the hell was Josh Allen running that? Why were we doing a QB run up the middle against the Jets? Why was Josh Allen doing an outside halfback run against the Dolphins? Stop putting your star unicorn in harm's way. It's so simple. It's so simple. You have three very capable running backs who can do the exact same thing and get you the same result. Did you really need that first down there? No. No, you didn't. But the Bills just have to learn. Otherwise, they'll become the next team we're about to discuss very briefly, Cal,
Yeah.
the Buffalo Sabres. They
Woo!
This week, folks, they began training camp. Their preseason actually begins next Monday. I have a video, a season preview coming out Monday afternoon, sometime around then. Um, but Cal, how excited are you for our Sabres to be back? They're back, baby.
I am pumped up. I mean, where else would you rather be than the KBC October 9th
Whew.
against the New York Rangers? I know you're streaming that game. You're kicking us off. You're getting us going with these Saber streams. We're streaming every game. I'm gonna look to go to that game. Tickets are like $30 right now. I feel like I'd be a fair weather fan not to show up to the home opener. So if you're streaming that one, I'm going to that game. We're gonna have a grand old time. Last time I went to Sabres opener against the Rangers, didn't go so well. Paterka
Mhm.
scored the only goal. Speaking of Paterka, that guy is no longer on the team. He's in
Yep.
Utah. Sabres defense is better. The offense is worse. We could talk about talk. We'll talk about some lines a little later in this podcast. But biggest thing I want to ask you: there's a poll right now. Sabres goal song. It's up to the fans to decide the Sabres goal song. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. You could give me
Okay.
one song. You give me three. You could give me five. Where's your head at? If your ideal world, what is the Sabres goal song?
So I saw the poll. I've submitted an entry for this. I picked
Yeah.
very creative. Mr. Brightside by Little Known
Okay.
Band
There
called The
it is.
Killers. All right, I thought
Yep.
it would be funny to have that continuity between both the Bills and the Sabres. There were some joke songs that I were thinking of, but in the end, I went with The Killers, Mr. Brightside. If there's any way I can live in infamy and Sabres lore, that's probably the only way. Picking a real song.
Yeah, I wonder how they're going to do that. Are they going to take the top four and make a separate poll and finalize that? Are they going to rig it and just pick their own and say, yeah, we gave the fans a chance? Or are they actually going to go with the top one? I saw the fans were trying to pack the ballot with "One More Time" by Daft Punk. I know you're a Daft Punk
That's
guy,
I
so
love Daft
I think
Punk.
you would like that one as well. I just put some joke song in there, but yeah, I don't know. I think Mr. Brightside would be a funny correlation between the two teams. I know that song's very controversial. Some Bills fans love it; they're always singing it, and some Bills fans on X absolutely hate it. And they're like, "Oh, why are we playing this stupid song? It's not even a good song." And like, "Oh, I know I see people in our DMs and in the chat like, "Oh, it's stealing the thunder from the Shout song." It'd be funny if they did the Shout song. You could
That
do
would
that, but
be
the Minnesota Wild already do that, so I don't think you
right.
could.
Well, I wonder, is Mike Harrington one of those people who complains about the Mr. Brightside? He would be. He
Yeah.
would.
Oh, definitely. I think a lot of the Bills and Sabres media are against it, but some of the younger guys are and girls are probably a little bit more of a fan of it, and I get it, right? Like it's kind of like that like weird era of a song where like people in their 30s reminisce about it, people in their 20s, are still a fan of it, and anyone older than that not really liking it. I get it, but after we talk about the songs here, we got to talk about the actual product on the ice. Lindy
Ugh,
Ruff
do we have
seems like
to?
he's working the boys hard. He didn't let them touch a puck until halfway through the first practice. A lot of conditioning. He said the guys have shown up in shape. He's been very surprised with how ready to go they are, as opposed to last season, minus Jordan Greenway, who's injured. What do we know? Of course, he's injured again.
Wow.
What a great contract. Again, when he's healthy, he's a good player. Matthias Samuelson, he said, is in shape. He's impressed with him. Matthias Samuelson gets an assistant captain role on this team, which is shocking because he was somebody I thought was a potential buyout. Just how bad he's been here in Buffalo. I'll bring this story up. Me and Jaden, we went to the home opener against the Rangers a couple seasons ago. They did the blue carpet. Every Sabres player was smiling, cheering, fist bumping guys, autographing, taking pictures. Matthias Samuelson got off the bus or his car or whatever, walked straight down the blue carpet with his head down, did not say a word, did not interact with a soul, snuck in and didn't say anything. And I'll hold that memory forever. So Matthias Samuelson might have been having a bad day. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom. I don't know. So we'll give him a little bit of credit there. But yeah, not a good look for Matthias Samuelson. And he was paid way too early, hasn't put up the production on the ice. So make or break year for him. The fact that he's still getting the A makes me hopeful that, his energy is a little better. We'll see.
Yeah, he's been, well, everyone knows on the channel, I despise him. He is my least favorite player currently on this team. Any chance I get to bash Matthias Samuelson, I will take it. But
uh,
Kel, you bring up a good point about the surprise. And this is not, Matthias Samuelson retaining his A is not the only thing that has remained the same here for the Sabres. Lindy Ruff decided to keep the same coaching staff. Kevin Adams and Lindy Ruff obviously are all here. There's been a lot of continuity from last season going into this year, even with the roster. I know JJ Peterka left, but for the most part, Kevin Adams didn't really add a whole lot of big names to this team. It was a lot of around the edges, just kind of padding and filling everyone around the so-called core. Whether or not that translates into real results, I don't know. It seems like they're banking in again on internal expectations and hope. And
yeah.
are we
Is
really going to do
Kesselring
this?
the guy? Is
I
Kesselring the guy that ties it all together? That's the question.
It's going to be huge if there's a player, folks, to watch in training camp and preseason. I'm very curious to see the chemistry between Owen Power and Michael Kesselring. Let me
Yeah.
just say, if Kesselring does well, Owen Power will do well. If Owen Power does really well, the Sabres are going to do really well. Because, look, Darlene is an elite defenseman. He's a top five D man. Owen Power could be the same exact thing. He could be as good as Darlene, if not better. So if you could potentially have in your decor two Rasmus Dahlin like defensemen, two top five guys in the NHL, you should be making the playoffs. And especially with both of
Yep.
those guys under contract. So that's going to be a huge, huge storyline as we look into some of the early developments here in preseason and as we get ready for the regular season. But Cal, anything else you'd like to say? We got about 2 minutes before we have to close up shop here.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is Sabres social media has kind of come together to name Justin Danforth the meme player of the year. So it looks like he's actually going to make the team out of camp and probably play because of the Greenway injury. So he'll be one of our guys on stream that we'll be watching very, very closely to see if he has a better year than our former meme player of Sam Lafferty. Shout out Sam Lafferty. Thanks for your time here in Buffalo, but I'm glad we've moved on. And that's all I got to say. Until we see him on the ice, next podcast we'll be able to recap some preseason. But
Yep.
right now, are we expecting playoffs? Yeah, probably not.
No.
But with
Nah.
that being said, I want you to join me. I don't know if you'll be back, but let's see when the playoffs start. You might have to ship up if it's a weekend. 12-hour stream if the Sabres make the playoffs in the plaza right before the first game. You'll
Oh
be there. I
man.
know you will. You'll ship up. It's in the plaza, 12 hours. Say the game starts at 7 a.m. We're showing up there. We're partying in the plaza. We're streaming the 12 hours before. We're going to have a grand old time. It might not happen this year, but it's going to happen eventually.
You see, you're promising to do this, knowing damn well I know you and Jaden know the Sabres are not making it there. We deep
Yep.
down, this
Yep.
is oh man.
If they do though,
If hey,
it's a big promise, it's a big commitment. But we're doing every game this year. We're streaming every
right.
game, and if that doesn't show our commitment, I don't know what will. We're emotionally tied to this team more than ever this year. This
Yep.
this is going to affect our mental health on a day to day basis, and affect the amount of people watching, the amount of interactions we get. So we're pouring our blood, our sweat, our tears into the Sabres season, and hopefully it goes well.
Yeah, and the channel has been growing at a very high pace over the last 2 months, folks. So get in on the action. Join now while you can. I mean, you'll always be able to. We'll never restrict that. But I think that's going to do it, Cal, for Buffalo Talk Center, episode 18. I was Don. This was Cal. Like I said, this is the podcast. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, follow on Instagram, join the Discord. All of those links are in the description box. And become a member. Become a member of BSC. All right? But, anyways, folks, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.